erupting volcano in Indonesia has already forced the evacuations of 30,000 people. Authorities say 100,000 more need to get out of the danger zone. That's our first story on CNN 10 this Wednesday. Before Mount Agung on the Indonesian island of Bali started erupting last week, it had been dormant for more than 50 years. Its last eruption was in 1963. But though it spewed ash more than 5 miles into the air over the past few days, authorities are concerned that a larger eruption could happen soon. So Bali's main airport has been shut down. Tens of thousands of people have headed to shelters, and everyone within 6 miles of Mount Agung's peak has been ordered to evacuate, though government officials say many are staying in their homes to protect their gardens and their animals. Besides the danger, though, there's an economic effect to all of this. Bali's considered an Indonesian island paradise. Its biggest industry is tourism. Millions visit every year, many traveling over the Christmas and New Year holidays. With thousands canceling their vacations, international airlines, local businesses, and street vendors could all lose money. One analyst says just having Bali's main airport closed costs the island about $18 million every day. The tourism industry has been hurt before by terrorist attacks and volcanic activity. The worst-case scenario this time around, according to experts, is if Mount Agung erupts on and off for several months. That would hurt Bali and Indonesia as a whole, but it's not unheard of on the Pacific Ring of Fire.
There's one thing you need to know about the Ring of Fire. It produces 90% of the world's earthquakes. The Ring of Fire includes about 450 volcanoes. Many of them are submarine volcanoes, meaning they're underwater, as are 75% of the world's volcanoes in total. Now, the Ring of Fire is also called the Circum-Pacific Belt. It's a result of plate tectonics. The movement of the plates has created a nearly continuous series of oceanic trenches and chains of volcanoes stretching for 25,000 miles. In a horseshoe-shaped pattern from New Zealand past Japan, across the Bering Strait, and down toward the tip of South America. The plate movement also causes earthquakes. Because many of these earthquakes occur in the ocean, the Ring of Fire is also known for tsunamis, produced when the ocean floor is either forced to rise or fall. When a megathrust event happens in this region, the water is displaced and the water pushes ashore. Most tsunamis are only a few inches high. But there are times that that wave and that swell can be as tall as buildings.
Earth only dates back to 1924. About 1,000 people live there, and it's not too far from New Mexico. This isn't revisionist geography. This is Earth, Texas. Not Blue Earth, Black Earth, or Earth City, just Earth. Now, there are several stories about how this tiny town got its name, and we don't know for sure which is true. What we do know is that Earth is the only place on Earth that's just named Earth, except, of course, the Earth itself. Now, that's random and down to earth. Okay, NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, might have reinvented the wheel, or at least the tire. The problem? NASA's Curiosity rover, a $2.5 billion vehicle that's currently wheeling around Mars, has significant damage to its tires. Small rocks apparently tore large holes in them. This may be the solution. It's called the Super Elastic Tire. It's non-pneumatic, meaning it needs no air. It's made of an alloy of nickel and titanium, and that apparently allows it to snap back into shape after being deformed by rocks or ledges or whatever else it might rove over. NASA says the super elastic tires were created for future Mars missions, though they probably won't be used on the next one scheduled for 2020. But engineers say they may be used on Earthbound vehicles one day. Even if they're better than the current air and rubber variety, though, there's a chance their cost would be considerably higher, maybe astronomical. Though sales of electric cars have increased in recent years and engineers are constantly looking for alternatives to gasoline, the internal combustion engine is not on the way out, though the inventor of a new hydrogen-powered vehicle disagrees. For one thing, gas-powered cars are more profitable for companies to manufacture. There are tens of thousands more gas stations than there are public fast charging places. Gas-powered vehicles are becoming more fuel efficient, and that fuel is a lot cheaper than hydrogen. Still, as technology advances, you can expect to see other types of vehicles more often.
I don't think there's anything on the horizon that can be remotely as efficient as a hydrogen car.
In a tiny workshop in Wales, just down the road from these sheep, a motley crew of engineers and designers from a range of backgrounds,
astronautical engineering,
nuclear submarines,
Williams Formula One team,
are building what they think is the car of the future. Weighing around half that of a Tesla S battery or a small saltwater crocodile or 2 grizzly bears, it emits pure drinkable water and barely makes a noise.
This is the Rasa, as in tabula rasa or clean slate, and it's our first functioning hydrogen fuel cell prototype designed for type approval on the public roads. I'll just push it forwards so you'll see how light it is.
I think the car looks fantastic. It does split opinion a lot because it's quite unconventional, but if you're producing a very, very small, highly aerodynamic and efficient car, that's what it's going to look like. It's got its clamshell doors. Of course, it's very small. It's not designed for any kind of vanity. It's designed to work. So if ever there was a case of form following function, it's the River Simple Rasa.
So this is the boot, and the fuel cell and the hydrogen tank are all in this sealed compartment here, and this is a decent sized boot designed to be at least a week shopping for a family of 4, 2 EasyJet suitcases and a case of wine.
Low weight is everything with the River Simple Rasa, and the whole car only weighs 580 kilos. Now compare that with Toyota, who produce by far the most significant fuel cell vehicle in the world at the moment, the Toyota Mirai, and they've sold 44 of those in England to date. Well, that weighs 1,800 kilos, and the Rasa uses 1/13 the power to drive it.
To refuel the car is a very similar experience to a petrol car. Put a hose in, press a button on the pump, and that automatically fills and gives you about 300-mile range in 3 minutes.
One small problem, filling up might not be that easy.
Until the refueling infrastructure exists for hydrogen, then it will always be a bit part player compared to battery electric. But that's set to change.
I think everybody's accepted now that petrol engines are on the way out, and people are rather grasping at straws thinking that batteries are the only solution. The problem is we have 30 million cars in the UK. It is inconceivable to have battery charging stations for 30 million cars.
Infrastructure isn't the only challenge. Embracing hydrofuel on a global scale will require a global mind shift and an understanding that hydrogen as fuel isn't dangerous, stored in tanks designed to withstand massive pressure. All this has won over the Welsh Government. Thanks to their backing and crowdfunding, Hugo Spowers' team will be releasing 20 cars onto Welsh roads in 2018.
The River Simple story, and Hugo Spowers, who is behind it, is an astonishing story. He's really the Henry Ford of his day in many respects. And the fact that he's achieved what he has almost from his kitchen table is absolutely staggering. He's not in it for the money. He's in it for the principle of creating sustainability in transport as an ideology, really.
With the global hydrogen fuel cell market expected to rapidly expand each year until 2021, you may well be seeing Hugo and his team's cars quietly on the roads in the near future.
In addition to the extensive training they have for their jobs, police officers often add fitness training to their schedules. And sometimes that includes members of the famous K9 units. Nitro is a perfect example. In the warm-up for the nightly routine of a K9 unit in Alabama, the officers and the Dutch Shepherd do push-ups. The video, which started as a way to remind people to lock their cars, has gone viral thanks to the dexterity of the dog. Of course, other breeds work out. The Boxer comes to mind. Then there's the Border Collie, the Squatsund, the Bar Belgian Sheepdog, the Chihuahua Weightlifter, the English Flexhound, the Bench on Freeze, the Bernese Mountain Climber, the Alaskan Malabrute. There may be more, but we'll stick with K9 of them for now, because that's 10 out of 10 for CNN 10. I'm Carl Azuz.